Music, dance, theater. It's time to take a seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez. Hear from performers, producers, presenters, and creators who enrich our lives in the performing arts. Who's on stage? Here is Tom Alvarez to introduce you.
Hello, and welcome to On the Aisle with me, Tom Alvarez. My guest on today's episode is Sherry Hong, a virtuoso musician. She is a tenured first-second violinist with the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra. Join me now as I go on the aisle in a conversation with Sherry. Welcome, Sherry Hong. What a pleasure to have you with me today.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
I've been trying to get this to happen for a long time. Yeah, and you brought your violin, too. How cool is that?
I did.
Let's start with, tell me about Sherry Hong, the person, the individual, I should say.
Sure. My story, I think, is probably different than many of my colleagues. What I do share with them, I did start playing the violin at a young age. My parents were both amateur musicians growing up, but they didn't have the opportunities to be able to study formally. My dad grew up playing guitar and singing, and my mom played organ. And when I was 3, they decided that I should take up the violin. I started with the Suzuki method. I still have, I think in my mother's house, there's still my old Suzuki books with stickers all over them and old markings from various teachers. And I think it was around 10 years old, we decided, I suppose, that I would take a more serious path. We found a more serious teacher that really was about training pre-college students to prepare for a career in music. So around 10 was when I auditioned and started on that path. That path definitely went up and down for a little bit, but I actually did go to the University of Michigan to pursue a degree in music performance. However, this is where my path differs than a lot of my colleagues. I actually left school after a year. I quit violin for a little over a year and dabbled in other industries, kind of explored the possibilities of what was out there. And after a few years of working in a number of different industries, I kind of thought, kind of miss it. Wonder what it would be like if I picked it up again. And I auditioned for the Civic Orchestra of Chicago.
Okay.
They're affiliated with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. Mm-hmm. And at the time, Cliff Colnott was the preparatory conductor. We recently lost him. But that actually was some intense training that, because I didn't finish my undergrad degree, I learned so much just on the job, if you will. Through Civic, we were able to work with many of the great conductors, Daniel Barenboim, Pierre Boulez, just the list goes on. And when my first year in Civic, after not playing the violin for about 14 months, I actually auditioned and was co-concertmaster with a gal who was also currently working in our profession. And that kind of told me that maybe I was on the right path, that coming back to music and coming back to the violin was where I was meant to go.
That's really highly unusual, isn't it, in your business, that you could put the instrument aside, take some time off, and then come back?
It's definitely different than a lot of my friends and colleagues.
Can you tell me what it was that made you want to put the violin aside? What happened, if I'm curious?
Well, I think there were things that were happening. Now that I look back, I think at the time I wasn't really aware of many of these reasons. The reasons that I were aware of, I felt like I was kind of put on this singular path, and I wasn't absolutely convinced that this was my path. And so I kind of wanted to explore. I've always had a lot of curiosities into just about anything and everything, and I love to learn. So when I left school, I didn't feel like my learning stopped. I mean, the acquisition of knowledge and just keeping all the possibilities open has really just always kind of been who I am, I think. Now when I look back, I realize that there were things that happened externally to me that had nothing to do with music.
I see.
That really affected me and who I was and my development. And I think it's taken a long time to really reconcile.
You had to process a lot of things.
I sure did. And there were things that happened that I don't think I realized, I certainly didn't realize at the time how detrimental they were to me. And we don't need to get into all of those details, but it was very eye-opening. I think I've done a lot of work over the years to kind of really, as you say, kind of figure out, how I got here, why I took the path that I did. And it has been difficult. When I left school, my mother did not talk to me for about 6 months because that was just not the path that she envisioned, that my parents envisioned.
May I ask what your nationality is?
Yes, I'm Taiwanese. I was actually born in Taipei, and I came here with my parents when I was not yet 2 years old.
So your parents' wishes, that's a real cultural thing, isn't it?
It is. That's definitely culturally.
And it seems like a lot of first generation, we rebel. I'm Latino, and we have similarities in our parents' expectations and how that weighs on us to make them happy, and yet along the way, it's not unusual for people to rebel.
No, it's not, and I think too. I know that they didn't have a lot of the opportunities that they were able to provide for me growing up, so you don't want to let them down.
So was that sort of they wanted the American dream as well?
Absolutely.
You. Yeah.
Absolutely.
A better life for you, huh? What was their background?
Well, so my mother actually was a German major in college. She was fascinated by the German language and German culture. I actually haven't spoken with her about it that much recently. Actually, this inspires me to ask her more about that. And my dad worked in business. My dad worked in the medical supply industry.
Okay.
They're both now retired and loving life. My dad lives in Taipei, and my mom lives outside of Chicago. And I'm lucky that I do get to travel back to Taiwan and see my dad and the rest of my family. My dad's side of the family, they're all around the northern part of Taiwan. And so we usually, and before the pandemic, we would always kind of rotate. I would travel there one year, and he would come here.
Are you fluent in Chinese?
I speak Mandarin. I would say it's more conversational. I'm not sure that I would be able to conduct, have this sort of conversation in Chinese comfortably. But when I go home, it comes back just like that.
Well, the situation in Taiwan is a whole show in itself. But do you still have family over there?
Yeah, so my dad's side of the family, they're all in or around Taipei. My dad is the oldest of three, and their kids and their kids they're all there. So I have a lot of family in and around Taipei.
And I'm sure they're very proud of what you do for a living.
They love it. Yeah, they are proud. They're fascinated. My dad is, because he's not able to see me perform live, he's always tickled when I can share a video or anything with him. The last time I went over, he relished listening to me practice.
So, Cher, if you don't mind my asking, tell me about some of these, you said industries that you worked in as you were taking a break.
Yes. So, wow. So I think the industry that I worked in the longest was hospitality. I worked in the restaurant industry. I worked as a server for a very short time because that was not my strength at the time. I worked as a hostess, and I worked for the longest as an administrative assistant for Sullivan's Steakhouse in Chicago. So my second year in the Civic Orchestra, I was working as the admin at Sullivan's in Chicago. So some days I would be opening the restaurant at 8 a.m., spending the day there, checking in deliveries, doing a lot of paperwork and invoicing and budgets and payroll, and working until about 5 or 6, and then going to Civic rehearsal from 7 to 10.
Wow.
And that's what I was doing when probably that would have been my third or fourth year in school had I stayed in college.
So what transferable skills does a musician bring to the restaurant industry?
At that time, I was a fish out of water because until then, I really did all of my speaking through my instrument. Growing up, doing competitions and all of that. That's how I learned how to communicate. That was my outlet, was the violin.
Were you an introvert?
I am an introvert. I guess I suppose I'm an ambivert.
But you're also a performer, so you could pull off affecting a personality you need when you're a hostess or a server to get those tips. Right?
I think you nailed it, Tom. I think maybe you're right. I do identify as an introvert. I do find that I definitely know when I'm on and when I'm off.
That's always fascinated me, actors, performers, musicians, that you're not alone. There's so many, myself included, who can be out in public and have the stage persona that comes with, having presence, and yet be very socially awkward or shy. It's just not unusual, is it?
It's not. And, for the longest time, I was very shy and awkward when I wasn't, when I wasn't, quote unquote, performing. I think as a result of working in different industries and learning how to speak different languages, it's allowed me to feel a little bit more comfortable.
Well, it sounds though like you were also working for some pretty high-end restaurants where you probably had a lot of customers on expense accounts. Steakhouses.
It was very. I learned so much. I learned so much about. So many things, and just working with non-musicians. I think what's so interesting is, especially in the classical music world, we're doing what we do now in our careers is we've been doing it for our entire lives. I played in my first orchestra when I started when I was 6 years old. I started playing in orchestra and chamber music, string quartets when I was 5 and 6. I think I was even played viola in Eine Kleine when I was 6 years old. And so we grow up in this environment where we are doing the same thing, and we forget that
you're in a bubble.
A little bit.
When you're in an orchestra or the musician's world, right?
A little bit.
Let's back up. Where did you grow up?
Oh, I grew up outside of Chicago. I grew up in Naperville, Illinois.
Oh, Naperville,
in the western
Chicagoland.
Suburbs. Yeah.
Right. And where'd you go to high school?
I went to Naperville North.
That's there were a lot of really famous people who came out of there, aren't there?
I think so. Yeah. Although I think in Chicagoland, I think New Trier is probably...
Yeah, that's right.
That's probably the school
with... Margaret or someone like that?
I mean, many, there are so many actors and performers and artists.
Yeah, so there's great education systems in Chicagoland, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that I actually reconnected with my choir teacher from high school, and he came down to an ISO concert a couple seasons ago.
Oh, how cool is that?
And we reconnected after however many years it's been.
This is an aside, but Steve Hackman is from the Chicago area. Did you talk to him about that?
He is, yes. I've known Steve ever since he started working with the ISO.
And for those listening, Steve Hackman is a hot young composer. Oh my gosh, he does everything. Arranger, DJ, and a singer.
Yes.
A singer to boot. And he just...
Pianist.
Pianist. And his newest fusion, not newest, but his latest fusion work that he's done with the ISO was the other night, which I attended. And it was a combination of Rhapsody in Blue and Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, it knocked me out. How did you like playing it?
I love playing Steve's shows. I think we started working with the ISO around the same time. I think maybe he started working with the ISO maybe a year or two after I started.
So that would have been 10 years ago, right? About 10?
Oh, maybe I could be off. I started with the ISO in 2007.
Okay.
So it's more than 10. I don't know.
And he started along with the trio.
Time for Three.
That's
right. Time for Three
and
was...
Jack Everly was kind of discovered those guys, all of them.
Well, Jack is a treasure. We love Jack. And Time for Three, they were artists in residence with the ISO for 10 years.
Yes.
Our former concertmaster was a founding member of that trio.
Zach Depew.
That's right.
Lovely Zach Depew.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so Zach, Renan, and Nick, and Steve all knew each other from the Curtis Institute of Music.
Okay.
So they go back, and then when they started working with us, it kind of, at that time, the Uncharted series was still known as the Happy Hour series.
That's right.
And it was still kind of this very experimental idea that we wanted to open up the symphony hall to be more inviting to more people in the community, that classical music isn't just stiff and elitist and exclusive. And so we really wanted to make it more inviting and familiar.
Well,
so
it worked because the audience that I saw the other night was primarily people in their 30s and 40s.
That series has taken off, and I'm so excited for the next one. In February, we're doing Bartók Bjork.
Oh my, is that a premiere?
It is here. I don't believe
okay.
that we've done that in Indy before. I don't know I don't think it's a world premiere, but we haven't done that in Indy before. And I love Bjork. I grew up listening to Bjork, and I mainly grew up listening to popular music. So I'm very, very excited for that.
Of all of Steve's compositions, what's your favorite?
So far, it's Resurrection Mixtape.
Oh my, with Kendrick Lamar.
Well, that's a good one too. That's Kendrick Lamar's Petrushka, the Stravinsky. That is also amazing. The Resurrection Mixtape is Mahler's second symphony, the Resurrection Symphony, with Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had that wrong. Okay, I haven't heard that one.
And he's created so many that it's hard for me to keep them straight.
So I asked you what it's like as a musician to play his music. Why? Why do you like it?
I like it because for me, like I said, I grew up listening to popular music. I didn't really grow up listening to classical music for pleasure. I did when I was studying music or learning a piece. But I grew up listening to classical rock. I mean, The Doors, Jimi Hendrix, Pink Floyd. That's what I enjoyed listening to. And then more Radiohead, which Steve also did a Brahms Radiohead, and Bjork, and Coldplay. You know, a lot of the popular artists that he's paired with classical composers, I grew up listening to.
Well, you know,
that's why I love his
That's
works.
why. Okay, so let's back up to was it last year you performed with the Indianapolis Men's Chorus, and you did that solo of Roxanne.
So the Tango de Roxanne is actually from Moulin Rouge.
Okay.
The version that we did, the version that we did with the men's choir was very similar to, we did a similar performance with the ISO in Hilbert and also at Conner Prairie.
So that's how it ended up on that program.
Yes.
I have to tell our listeners, it knocked me out. And that's when I'd seen you, of course, as part of the orchestra on stage, over the years. But that's when I really took notice oh my God, who is she?
Thanks, Tom.
No, that performance was just magnificent, and it stopped the show. It really did.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. And this is one of the reasons why Jack and his entire team, we treasure so much. That the version that we did is actually, it's taken elements from both the film and stage version.
Sting is the composer. That's who.
Oh, yes, Roxanne, yes.
Yeah.
That was Sting's song.
Yeah.
And in Moulin Rouge, it was reimagined into a tango.
Yeah, I was confused with a bit there. Moulin Rouge? What did I mean? Okay. All right, great.
So Moulin Rouge took it and made it into a tango, and the film version, and there was also a stage, a Broadway show. And the ISO team kind of married the two and created the version that we performed.
And you know why you stood out? It's also because you reflected your personality, as I'm seeing right here. I mean, you're very effervescent for being someone shy.
So well, I guess I'm on right now.
Well, as you can see, we're jumping around here, but it's fun. I love talking to musicians because being an artist myself, I just love the process of creation and also collaboration. And one thing I've been noticing over the last 2 or 3 seasons, and this is just anecdotal, but there are an awful lot of young people on the orchestra. And I can feel, and this is common sense to me, that a lot of that has to do with just simply their youth, their vitality, and they're not jaded or burnt out yet. Is that a reasonable observation?
We certainly have a lot of new faces on stage. I think, especially this week, we have Mario Vanzago, who was our 6th music director, and he's back. And looking around the stage, I was thinking, how many people still remember, that were here when he was last year. Mario was music director when I started, so he hired me, and that's why I'm in the ISO. And I'm it's wonderful to have him back. I'm so excited for these next 2 weeks with him.
Do you stay in touch with him?
I have not. He did come back and do a concert series with us. I can't remember when it was. It was before COVID sometime, I think.
So he guest conducts all over the world, I'm sure.
He does, yeah. I think he's mostly in Europe, But I mean, I look forward to hoping to catch up with him a little bit while he's here.
What did you like about working under him, under his baton?
You know, what I love about Mario is, I mean, he really is an artist in every sense of the word. And I think something that every artist brings is love and heart. And what Mario kind of brings out for me is he kind of gets us out of our heads. You know, we spend so much time making sure that everything is in its right place. Accuracy, precision. And with Mario, he gets us out of our heads and more in tune with our hearts to kind of balance that out, because we spend so much time focusing. When we come into the concert hall, this isn't the first time that we're not reading this music. We have taken this music and worked on it on our own at home, spent time practicing and studying these parts so that when we do come in as an orchestra, we're already prepared. We've already spent hours preparing this so that when we get there, all of those, technical aspects, we hope that we have worked on in our individual practice rooms. He helps us put it all together and create the vision that he has for the music and to unify everything that we're doing together. And I mean, just coming from rehearsal this morning, looking around, there was so much smiling and looking around and such appreciation for his method of inspiring all of us to be on the same musical page.
You know, a lot of people who aren't educated about the creative process of a symphony orchestra, for newbies and beginners, explain what a conductor does. What is this function?
Yeah, so an analogy that I like to use is, we're all familiar with films and directors and screenwriters. If we kind of look through that lens, a conductor would very much be like a director. The sheet music that we have in front of us is like a screenplay. And we have, principal players in the orchestra, whether it's, our concertmaster Kevin or Jennifer Kristen, our principal oboe. We have all of these different actors, if you will, that in their roles that when they speak with their instruments, with the screenplay or the music, through the vision of the director/conductor, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
So absolutely. He kind of organizes and presents a vision and creates an artistic world for us. And if we imagine, what's a classic? I mean, Spielberg, we think about Steven Spielberg and we think of his classic films. What would those films be if they weren't directed by Spielberg? I think that's maybe similar to what a conductor's role is with the symphony orchestra. We have all of these amazing works in front of us. And for instance, this weekend we're playing Rossini's William Tell Overture. That piece in the hands of a different conductor would be very different. And so with each conductor that comes on the podium, we take the same material that we see on the page, but something new is imbued and inspired, whether it's through the tempi that one chooses or the sound qualities that they look for. It really kind of challenges us to find something new and different that keeps the music and the art fresh for us as well.
I have a question about musicians following a conductor. You would appear that you can't possibly eyeball him and play your instrument at the same time, but I take it you keep him in your peripheral vision.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm so glad you asked this because we don't often get to talk about all of the things that we are doing. The multitasking I think, is pretty next level.
Well, you said you listened to my show with Kevin Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
And, I asked him about that, or was it Austin? One of the two I asked them, the age-old question. So if you musicians love your work so much, how come you always look so bored? And he says, well, we have to focus. We're multitasking. So, and it's not that we're sour or anything. We're focused. It's concentration. And then, of course, it all makes sense. So why don't you play a piece for us and introduce it, please?
Sure. I'd like to play the second movement from Vivaldi's Winter. I think it's just such a beautiful melody. And
I love Vivaldi.
And this piece is special because, I don't know if
Okay.
you went to Yuletide
Can't
last
wait to,
year.
you know, you were talking about artists and what they do, be it an actor, being a singer, being a musician. I always believe that it really, when it boils down to it, it's an act of love.
Absolutely.
You're showing love to your audience, and it comes back to you in the form of the applause and the interaction. Do you agree with that?
I do, and it's honestly, it's not only that. We feel the energy when we enter the room. We feel the energy while we're playing. For instance, if something's very hushed and quiet, there's something magical in the air that everyone in that room. That's it. It's a singular experience. It will never happen like that again.
I just saw a cool quote today, something along the lines that musicians, conductors, anybody associated with music, they're like painters, but it's silence that they're painting a picture of over. Isn't that cool?
That is really cool.
Okay, so let's hear your act of love. Well, Yuletide's coming up. You excited?
Yes, I am.
Why?
I'm so excited. I got to perform last year. We did a mashup of Vivaldi's Winter, the first and third movements, along with Let It Go from Frozen. Mm-hmm. And I'm a Disney kid, so I was very tickled to do that. And working with Jack when he put together this arrangement was also just a ton of fun.
Let's tell our listeners about the piece you just did a bit more, and what you're going to be doing in Yuletide.
Well, this year, honestly, we haven't really talked about the details. I do know, I think because this was such a big hit, we might be doing it again.
Uh-huh.
But we will be changing up some elements. For instance, I do not know the color of my dress this year, but we're going to be adding some different elements.
That's right. You did a
before and
solo.
after. Yes, that's right.
That's right. Uh-huh.
So after doing that solo last year, that was actually not my first time being featured in Yuletide.
Okay.
And
I should know that because I've seen every Yuletide for like 30 years. I don't know how long they've been doing it.
well,
And the
Frankie-
gowns. Let's talk about
the
those.
gowns.
Let's talk about, I call it a night of 1,000 gowns. And
Yes.
the costumer, remind me of her name.
Claire Henkel.
Claire Henkel. She's a genius.
She is.
I mean,
She is, and her team is amazing.
yeah, and I bet you those gowns are heavy, aren't they?
Oh
They
my
look-
gosh, you have no idea. And I mean, what looks, I mean, when you see beading and sequins, they catch the light and they're perfect for the stage, and they are so dang heavy. The beading on my dress last year was actually a bit hazardous because it was very delicate, and every show I actually had to put on and take off the dress twice because I would get ready for the show, I would play the solo number, and then I would go play in the orchestra. So I had to change into my orchestra gear, and then at the end, change back into the gown for the bows, for the curtain call. And so that gown went through a lot, and a couple times the beading would get loose, and the concern was that beads would fall on stage. And when you have a bunch of dancers following you, that is the last thing that you want on stage. So a couple times I'm in the wings with someone from the wardrobe department literally sewing my dress while I'm waiting the wings to go on. And we're counting down. Well, I think we got about maybe a minute left before this number ends, and then I need to walk out.
Well, how many dressers do you have?
Well, I had one dresser that I worked with, Stacey O'Leary. She's amazing.
Okay.
And
Well, some
but
of
the
those
team
gowns,
is huge.
don't they require, a lot of those costumes require 3 or 4 people back there, right?
Yes. My gown, thankfully, only required myself and Stacy. I know that, and Sandy Patty is hosting this year.
Oh, yes, of course.
So you know that there will be many, many, many beautiful gowns.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure for her gowns, those are probably twice or 3 times as heavy
Did
as
they
the
ever
ones.
recycle those gowns? I'm just curious. You know.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. There's a warehouse.
But they wait 4 or 5 years. I've been in that warehouse, by the way. Yeah, well, that's another story.
Yes.
But it was like, it was like the King Tut's tomb for people who are costume aficionados, It's just amazing. But
It is.
everything about, I review it every year and everything. I try to say it in different ways. But for those who've never been to Broadway, it is as close as you're going to get to Broadway. The production values, the elements, all the elements, the sets, the design, the lighting design, sound design is impeccable. Sound design, but it's also good that you don't notice it, and you shouldn't, because it's seamless, I think, right?
They do. It's amazing what they do, and they start working on it literally maybe a month after it ends for the next
And
year.
there are so many people. My impression is that, they're not revolving doors. You have people who've been there for years and years and years. Is that correct?
Well, we do have a lot of local performers that are regulars.
Well, I meant the design, the tech people.
Oh.
The technical staff.
Oh, yeah, sure. I think, in terms of production, there are many members of the production staff that have been on staff for
And
years.
it's not always noted in the program. Maybe it is, in all the credits. But there are a lot of performers that, that out-of-towners, too, and they're auditioned in other places.
Well,
New York.
you mentioned Broadway, and we do have a number of performers that come in from New York, that are based in New York. Our host last year, Ben Crawford, was the Phantom on Broadway for the run.
Yeah.
So there are always top-notch casts.
Yeah, and of
involved.
course, speaking of Sandy Patty, this is her 6th and last time?
I think it's more than
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay, but she says it'll be her last.
She says it's her last, so
Yeah.
well, it'll be one to remember. I'm
She
sure.
was on this podcast recently, and she has a deep, deep, deep love for Yuletide and ISO and Jack and everybody. There are very few people that I talk to that I've interviewed over the years or reviewed, or many of them I've met. ISO and Jack, they have an extraordinary reputation in show business, And
Weird.
there's a lot of envy from and I understand now that a lot of orchestras are trying to copy what Jack and Ty Johnson, the executive producer, have done with this show. Am I right?
I think you are. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. He is an absolute treasure. And what we have with Jack and with Ty, their partnership and what we've been able to do at the ISO continually is at the highest level. I think what we offer in terms of our pops programming is really a step above many, many professional orchestras because of that amazing team.
Well, I saw another example of what you're talking about. The other night I saw the Ashley Brown Pops
Yes.
concert. And you must have really loved that, since you're a Disney person, right?
Oh, yes. I loved it. I was singing along and as much as I could. And I did a little musical theater in high school as well. So that performer.
Oh, what did you
side of
play?
me. I was in a production of, I was Lady Larkin in Once Upon a Mattress, which is the musical version of the Princess
It's on
and the
Broadway
Pea.
right now, isn't it?
I believe it is.
Yeah.
And I think Sutton Foster's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know who Lady Larkin is though on Broadway.
And what are some of the other shows you did?
Well, I auditioned for West Side Story, and my choir conductor, the one that I reconnected with, said, "Sherry, I just don't think you're right for the role of Maria, and honestly, I need you in the pit." They're just amazing.
So you're a
violin
singer as
solos
well.
Well, I don't know about a singer. Ashley Brown is a singer.
Oh, my
I can
goodness.
hold a tune. And I grew up singing, karaoke with my folks. My folks had a little karaoke club, and I would sing
I just
karaoke with them.
posted my review of Ashley Brown, and I pointed out that her voice, her vocals are very reminiscent of Julie Andrews. I mean, her pristine tone, her diction. And she said she performed in front of Julie Andrews and how nervous it made her, but that she got a thumbs up after she did Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I think that was the song. But yeah, her voice does stand out on its own. She is her own. She put her own stamp on those shows that she did, Beauty and the Beast, and you must have loved playing that medley of all those Disney hits, huh?
I sure did. And I think what's so amazing about Ashley Brown is her versatility. I think that she can sing anything. I mean, she can sing like, the old jazz standards. She can sing Disney. She can belt. She can kind of do it all.
And that her stage persona, I called her effervescent, like I called you, but she it's very bubbly, and a lot of fun on stage, very natural.
She's kind of like a real-life Disney princess.
What was she like in person?
The same. I mean, just really open and warm and bubbly and just...
And I forget she was on this podcast, too. We did a Zoom call, and she was the same when I saw her backstage. So that's pretty cool when you encounter people like that who are what they appear to be, isn't it?
It is. It's funny because we're talking about her like she talked about Dame Julie Andrews. I mean, it really is. I mean, I think as performers, and more now in the digital era, we really are cognizant of how visible we are and what a difference we could make.
How much do you get to interact with the Broadway people or the stars who come to do the pop series?
Well, I personally love to get to say hi and...
Do you fangirl?
I wouldn't say that I'm a fangirl. I like to think I'm a little more cool about it.
Yeah.
But
I'm just joking.
But I'm definitely, I know. I'm definitely a fan.
I'll admit it.
I'm definitely a fan. No, I'm definitely a fan, and I love to talk with them. Just like you were saying, when we perform and then when we get off stage.
A lot of entertainers, they're used to people freaking out when they meet them. They get nervous, and it's kind of a phenomenon, really, how people are so... having been exposed to them on television or on the stage, they put them on a platform, and it can get really uncomfortable sometimes,
It could, and I fortunately have not been in any sort of, anything that's been too creepy or anything, but I think a lot of times that tells me that, we're connecting.
Exactly.
We're connecting, and we're whatever storytelling we're doing, whether it's through music or live theater or Broadway, whatever it is, that kind of reaction means that we've done our job well, and that we've told the story, and we've made a connection, and we've made an impact, which is really what the arts is. Like, we're here to explore all the things that we can't maybe find the words for.
Well, of all those pop stars that you performed with over the years, who are some of your favorites?
I have to bring up Frankie Marino.
Oh, yeah.
So he hosted Yuletide a couple times, and he's also done a number of shows on the pop series. Most recently, he and Tony DeSere were here doing their dueling pianos show. But the first time I met Frankie was when he hosted Yuletide. And that year, Jack asked me if I would be interested in performing. And Frankie actually released with Joshua Bell a version of I'll Be Home for Christmas a number of years ago. Joshua Bell, who all of us here in Indiana know very well. And so I was just geeked to do it.
For those listeners who don't know who Joshua Bell is, he attended Indiana University, but he is from Indiana.
He's from Indiana. His family is still in Indiana.
And he is a brilliant violinist and your colleague. So
world class.
Yeah. So go on with what you were saying. Who's some of the others?
And then
Tony DeSere, if I may name drop, was on this podcast too.
Oh yes, that's right, he was.
His, his repertoire and his original music. He did one, New Orleans Tango.
Yes.
You know that piece?
Yeah. Well, we performed it with him,
right.
and he, I remember he was talking about how you just wanted to have this kind of, this violin solo at the beginning to kind of set the tone for this tango. And I think what's so great about he and Frankie is they really do speak a similar language. I hit it off with Frankie, and we actually during the pandemic I actually went out and spent time in Vegas. And
for those who don't know who he is, he's still making his mark in Las Vegas.
Yes,
he's got a residency somewhere.
He is. He's got a couple. He's at the South Point, and he's also at the Palms. I'm not sure if that residency is still happening. He's He's always performing, whether it's in Vegas and now I think in Hawaii and touring all over the country and playing with symphony orchestras. But he's also done a few shows with us on the Hilbert stage, and also he brought his band in and played out at Conner Prairie during Symphony on the Prairie. So, he's an artist that is very engaging and is just a blast to work with.
Let's shift to your classical world at ISO. Tell me about what it's like working with June.
June Miracle, yes. I think when he was officially brought on as our music director, so many of us were just so thrilled and so excited. He's had a long-standing relationship with ISO. I think he's been coming here since...
He was like a consultant, right?
Well, he was an artistic advisor officially for the
I
past...
guess that's what I meant, advisor, right?
Few years before he was... we were still, technically in a music director search. So during that time, he was our artistic advisor. But I remember, years ago when I joined the orchestra, he was coming and already doing a number of guest weeks. This orchestra has a history of just loving working with him. And he always has been able to identify... whatever we needed to work on. But what I love about him is he's so respectful, yet very demanding and discerning. And he has...
You want to please him, right?
Absolutely. And he has a wit, and he's so smart, and he's so knowledgeable with everything musically knowledge related, of course. But I think also his emotional intelligence and how he connects with the orchestra, with individuals in the orchestra, and how to bring out the best performance in all of us. I think he really has his finger on the pulse in terms of that.
I think when I spoke with both Kevin and Austin, they talked about, you all have goals as individual musicians, and you're excited about the future because he could well be the key to taking you guys on tour and recording and things that Raymond Leppard was able to accomplish, and before him, others. So do you feel the same way that they do about the potential that he brings?
Absolutely. And we actually did do a recording with June. And also on that recording was Zool Bailey, the cellist. And that was a number of years ago. But yeah, looking forward, I think the sky's the limit. That's kind of how it feels right now. We've been wanting to go on tour for as long as since the last one in the 90s.
What would be your dream tour?
And if we're going to Europe, if we're going to Asia, I would just love to. I would love to have this orchestra be able to go on the road and perform and show the world how great we are and how much we love what we do. I think what's really wonderful about the ISO is that we really are very supportive of each other. This isn't just, we get together on stage and we do our jobs and we're very professional and we execute. I mean, outside, we really enjoy each other's company. And I think, we hang. So I think that comes through when we play together. There really is a camaraderie that's not manufactured.
Kevin said that, when you're a young musician and you have day jobs and all, it isn't till you're finally in an orchestra and you're making money that you can play.
Yes. Yeah, it's a very different
life.
Like
an adult play. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we all hang out a lot and it's great because it's a little more dimensional that way, and I think that comes through.
The other day, it's oftentimes when I'm walking out of a concert, walking back to my car, I will run into an ISO musician because I can tell from their instruments or in their, either in a backpack or whatever, the carriers, I don't know what you call it, but in any case, I always make a point of, I just saw you, congratulations or whatever. I'm always so impressed with just how kind they are. Is that's not uncommon?
No, I think that's very accurate. I think we're a pretty happy group of people, I think.
Yeah.
And we're excited to make music together. When we're not playing music, of course during our break in the summer, a lot of us play with other groups over the summers.
Yeah, what
are
some of your gigs coming up?
Personally, this year I rested.
And by the way, you are the second what's your formal title? Second principal?
Well, I'm back in the first violin section.
Okay.
So I was
Explain
the acting,
that to me for our listeners. What
Sure.
the orchestra hierarchy.
Well, it is a bit of a hierarchy. We have in each of the string sections we have titled players that are at the front of each section, which are, they're all in more leadership roles. For instance, Kevin is the concertmaster. We have an associate concertmaster. Right now, that is a vacant position. And in that case, we have acting members that assume these titled roles in the interim before we fill them permanently. So for a little over 2 years, I was the acting associate principal second. So I was the second chair of the second violins. And in that, it's very different because, like we were talking about before, the multitasking that happens when we're playing in rehearsal. As a section player, I know my music. I'm also listening to my stand partner, making sure that we're kind of in check. The players in front of me, behind me. I'm also tuning in with my section leader. I'm also looking across the stage because sometimes we cannot only depend on what we hear because of the way that sound travels, the way that it bounces. So a lot of times we have to rely visually. So we're playing, we're looking, we're listening. We're also looking at the conductor. We're also, so all of this is happening. And when you're in a leadership role, a principal or an associate assistant, you really are ensuring that everything is precise, so everyone behind you is clear on everything that's going on. We're always trying to help each other, and so the more we can move and communicate that, that really is up to a lot of the leaders in the front. You'll often see the string principals constantly making eye contact and looking at each other. So when you're in those titled roles, you have kind of another level of awareness that needs to be happening and mindfulness of everything that you're doing while you're multitasking in your mind.
And what is your estimation of Kevin Lynn, your colleague?
Kevin's great. I love Kevin. He is, I think what's great about Kevin is that he's a fantastic player. Everything that he plays is something I think all of us aspire. He inspires us to play as cleanly and as in tune as he does. I don't know if he'll ever hear this, but I will make sure that I tell him that I said this. And he's very easy to work with, and it feels communal and what's the word?
On my podcast, my impression, he was very laid back, no pretentiousness at all.
He's definitely not pretentious. He's
very humble.
Like you said,
actually.
It's like you're playing music with your friends.
Yeah.
But because he does play at such a high level, we are keeping all of each other honest and keeping everything at a very high level. So I think that's what he inspires. And because there is a very, I guess, congenial quality to him, it really makes going to work fun.
Truthfully, that's not always common in a symphony orchestra, is it?
No, I would say that quite often, I think over the years, many subs that have come here from other orchestras have commented on how laid back, and not in terms of how we approach the music, but just how we are with each other. We really actually truly enjoy each other's company.
So the morale is always pretty high.
I wouldn't say always. We always,
Sure.
We go through our ups and downs depending on what's happening.
Right.
I don't know if this is getting too real, but I think, being a unionized group
Of course.
in Indiana can have its challenges. So, there are always ups and downs when it comes to that. But I think in the end, regardless of tension or whatever it may be, in the end, I think the goal of everyone is
I hope
same,
there's never a
shared.
strike again, but I recall the last one. And were you here during the last, quote, strike?
Are you referring to the lockout
The
in
lockout.
2012?
I meant the lockout, yeah.
Yes, I was here.
So did you ever do sets, or did you ever play in front of the Hilbert?
Absolutely, yes. We organized a lot of concerts in front of the theater right on Monument Circle. Mm-hmm. And that was we also played at churches around town, and
it was
during
really,
that time,
for me, it was really compelling to see you guys out there, that you it really was an act of affection for your audiences and for music lovers. You kept the music going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was, and honestly, for us too. It was heartbreaking for us to not be able to be on stage.
Sherry, did you play that concert, the Musicians of Indianapolis concert at the Palladium?
We did do a concert at Second Presbyterian Church.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
And Andre Watts.
Andre Watts, that's
Andre
the
Watts
one.
came and performed with us during that lockout. That was extraordinary.
And then all the little concerts I went to during COVID, like Peter McVickery and his
Vickery, yes,
his quartet. I saw him on a cul-de-sac.
Yes, yeah, I did. I played with him a couple times too, and he wasn't the only one. I think. There were so many musicians during the pandemic that were doing cul-de-sac.
What was that period like for you guys?
That was difficult. That was very difficult. I think what was difficult for me was I felt like we, and obviously it's above my pay grade to make these decisions, but I felt like we had the ability to stream concerts, but for whatever reason, the decision was made to kind of shut down for that time until we did do some digital performances, I think, in March of 21.
But many of you had to do COVID-era concerts because you needed the money.
Yes. Well, I moved to Vegas. I moved to Vegas for a year.
Oh, you did?
I did. I packed up and I left. And that was the time that I spent a lot of time with Frankie and his band and his kind of crew out there working on music. I played on a number of his tracks that he released.
Yeah, but wasn't that tough though with the masks and everything else and the?
Oh well, we all had our little COVID bubbles, and Frankie actually has a studio in his home.
Oh,
so
cool.
a lot of the recording that we did, and we would stack. And what was great about that, I learned so much about that process because that is an entirely different process than recording classical music or creating classical tracks. And because of COVID, we couldn't get a bunch of string players together, so I would record tracks and we would stack them, so then it would sound like a string section.
So how was living in Vegas?
It was wonderful.
Did you leave a lot there?
Well, I put I sold a lot of my things. I put some things in storage. I packed up my Prius
I was
and
making
I drove
joke
out.
about their motto about what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Oh, well, I won't comment because you know how that goes.
So, it's a long season coming up, but every time I go to the theater, I always try to take in the schedule, which is on the window next to the door. And the last time I looked at it thoroughly, because I had some time, and I was just I'm so excited about what's coming up. Why don't you just give us sort of a thumbnail sketch about it, some of the highlights?
Sure. Well, I personally, I love playing Mahler symphonies, so I cannot wait for Mahler 4. I think that's not coming up sometime in 25, in the spring perhaps, but I'm very excited for that. That symphony has a very interesting addition, which is a violin solo played on a second violin, which is tuned down. So hopefully you'll be able to attend and hear Kevin work his magic on that solo. It's really, really neat. What else are we? I mentioned Bartók Björk in the Uncharted series. I think Beethoven 9 is always such a favorite, and I think we're closing the season with that with June, and the Indy Symphonic Choir. And it's always wonderful to collaborate with other arts organizations, and I think the collab with the ballet last year was amazing.
It was brilliant.
It was. And funny side note, for that, the Prokofiev Romeo and Juliet, there were actually 4 violinists that learned mandolin for those performances because that's what the ballet score calls for. And so there were 4 of us who picked up the mandolin maybe a couple weeks ahead of time and learned a couple of those cues, it was a tremendous amount of fun. But this year we are doing Swan Lake with Indy Ballet, and I think everyone is super excited for that. I know that we're also collaborating with the opera. I'm not sure what the opera is. Do you know? Have you heard any? You're pretty tuned in.
Yeah, it comes to okay. No, I can't remember. I want to harken back to another collaboration you had with the men's chorus, South Pacific. It was just I loved it. I loved it so much. Yeah,
it was incredible. I think the last time that we did a semi-staged musical was maybe Hairspray, or it was a long time ago.
yeah.
So I think that to be able to do that, the men's choir, I think they had a great time, and they're always.
What do you think about
amazing.
the men's chorus? And of course, for those who don't know, Greg Sanders, who is the artistic director, is also the vocal director for the Pops, is he not? Or
and for Yuletide.
Yuletide?
For Yuletide.
Yeah.
That's right. He's the vocal director for Yuletide.
So he's bought quite a bit of what he's learned from his mentor Jack Everly to the men's chorus. I mean, he's really redefined choral music, I believe.
I love working with Greg. He's a gem. He's really knowledgeable. He and I have just gotten together to read some sonatas and things, and I think what's great about him is he kind of walks the line between all of these different roles really well, and he can just kind of go in between all of them, and he's just always on, and he really draws out the best and gets the performer out of everybody.
Can you believe how smooth and at ease he is when he's like making remarks to the audience? This is so effortless.
It is, and it's like very nonchalant, off the cuff, and it's just like you're talking to a friend, and he's very easy to connect with and converse with.
Before we leave, I want to know, what is the life of a professional symphony orchestra violinist like? Tell me, what is a typical Sherry Hong day?
Well, it all kind of depends on what's happening for us. Week to week, our schedule can change. For the past couple weeks, these couple weeks of the season, we were preparing 2 different programs each week. So there's always a little bit of time, of course, time spent learning music, upcoming scores, and all of that. I spend a lot of time with my cat. So, talking about my daily life, I have a cat that hates listening to the violin. So that makes that process a little different for me.
What's her name?
His name is Bubba. He's about 2 years old. I brought him home 2 years ago tomorrow, as a matter of fact, and I discovered when he was his first year, he didn't mind the violin, and then I think in his second year he discovered he really didn't like the sound and the volume and the frequency all that much. So I discovered, after about 15 minutes of playing and him biting me, that's about how much I can get done. Now, when he sneaks off into the back room, I'll maybe put a practice mute on and get away with, some work before he comes out and says that's enough.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't stick this in here, so you are a childless cat lady, I take it.
I am absolutely a childless cat lady, a proud one.
So, what would you say to young people who are interested in pursuing a career like you've had? What would you say to those students out there?
I would say believe in yourself. I think you know yourself better than anyone. And because my path was so different, and I think it's really important that we listen to our mentors and our families and our friends, and we take all of that information, but we need to discern what is for us. And maybe what was given with the best intentions, might be because of, other factors. Does it apply to you? I think we all need to know who we are and believe in ourselves and remain strong in that conviction. And also to seek out. I think we live in an age where, you can reach out to someone and ask questions and ask for help, ask for anything. I think the digital age has made that much more accessible. So I think recently, there have been a number of, students that have reached out to the ISM musicians through their Instagram, for instance. And I think that I think that's wonderful. And I think not to be shy, to ask for help, to ask questions, and I think to really believe in yourself.
And by the way, do you teach? Do you have private students?
I currently don't.
Not something you're interested in.
It's not. I mean, it's not something I have that I don't seek it out.
Yeah.
But I'm not opposed to it. I find teaching. I think teaching is very illuminating for both the teacher and the student. And I think it's a really, where would we be without our teachers? So I'm not opposed to teaching. I just currently don't.
Last question. So what do you say to those, in my experience, and Steve Hackman and his ability to draw those new audiences through his music, mixing classic with contemporary, and I think it's an inspired approach, and it's working. Just anecdotally, I could just see it physically, the people who are at the concerts. But what do you say to those who haven't stepped foot in the Hilbert Circle Theater, and they don't because whatever their background is, they don't feel welcome, or it's intimidating to them, or they don't feel they understand it, or they're turned off for it because they feel that they can't relate, it's not relatable to them. What do you say to those people?
I say give us a shot. I think it's similar to, like the advice that I would give to students. I think sometimes we need to shut out the noise. I think the classical music industry also has has work to do in helping our community feel more welcome if they are feeling unwelcome. And I think that's something that the ISO is actively doing, and that is an active part of all of our conversations to make the Hilbert Circle Theater more inviting to the community. And we want people to feel like that they feel represented, and that music is for everyone. And that's I just, as an aside, I spent a year living in Paris, and one of the things I learned there is, you really don't need to speak the same verbal language. Music speaks to everybody.
Yeah, it occurs to me more and more often during these polarizing times. I'm reminded that I don't know the politics of the person sitting next to me, and it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter
because and that just reminds me, it gives me hope that music is very powerful, and the arts in general, and so there is hope that we do have more in common than we don't. Before I leave you, first of all, I want to thank you for your precious time. This has been just delight. It's like a rarefied experience for me, and I meant to ask you, did you know Marianne Tobias?
Yes.
Who didn't? Who was in the orchestra? She was a great champion of yours, and we became close friends. And one of the things that I will share forever are the number of times I was invited for whatever reason to her home, and she would sit down at the piano, and I would have a private concert of stuff that she was rehearsing at the time. And no one shared that but she and I. And having Kevin on and Austin on and having them bring their instruments, Austin wasn't able to because he had been on a vacation and his fingers weren't working, he said. But it's rarefied to hear you perform across from me.
Thank you.
It's been wonderful, so thank you.
Thank you for having me. And yes, Marianne, what a treasure and what a loss for all of us. But I got to know her a little more personally in more recent years. And I think one of my most treasured memories is going to her place and talking about neuroscience and the effects of music on the brain, and all of her diagrams and everything that she brought out and everything that we discussed was just incredible.
I'm sure you know what I mean when I say a rarefied experience.
Yes.
To have her. But she was that way. I didn't meet her for the longest time. I'm out everywhere, right? But I never felt like I could approach her because every time she was talking to someone, she was zeroed in on that person alone, and there wasn't any distraction from. You didn't approach her. You didn't tap her on the shoulder because she would continue focusing on you. Mm-hmm. Do you think I'm right? I mean, do you agree
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really, really special. Mm-hmm. Well, listen, I guess next time I see you will be when I'm on the aisle at Yuletide.
Can't wait. Thank you so much for having me, Tom.
Thank you.
Our thanks go out to our media sponsor, Urban Times. Urban Times is a monthly news magazine which serves as the official neighborhood newsletter for 16 Indianapolis neighborhoods, offering news about development, arts and entertainment, and from the business community.
Who will take center stage on the podcast next? Your seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez awaits. Follow Tom on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and make sure to visit tomalvarez.studio. Watch Tom every other Thursday on Lifestyle Live on Wish TV, and make sure to listen every week here on the All Indiana Podcast Network.